with attendance ready, do I have any motions to open the meeting?
Motion to open the meeting.
Okay. Do I have any seconds?
Second.
All right. If you guys all in favor, please go to the reactions tab and put a yes up. Or you can raise your hand. I guess raising your hand is better.
Thank you, JJ.
And we are at a majority. So, okay. GBM is now in session. We'll start off with reports, executive board report. Sam, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. So welcome back, everybody, after our Tuesday spring break. There's, a few things that we've been up to since then. The first is that I did talk to Maureen Marsh after our meeting with the Board of Trustees about a month ago. And what we now have set up for future years is regular presentations to the Board of Trustees, which is a big deal. Newsletter, pay attention, because in the endorsement article you wrote, you said we didn't do anything on this year, but we did. We have regular meetings with the regular presentations to the Board of Trustees now. It's a little TBD whether it's going to be biannual or annual, but that is a thing. It's a good thing that we did that, so that'll be very helpful in years to come. Other than that, we set up a meeting for the resolution regarding pilot funding, which is exciting. We received a response to the COVID resolution. So yeah, good stuff. And next is not the vice president, but let Will handle it.
No, it isn't.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Next up is Executive Secretary Brianna Zolotelli.
That is me. Yes. All right. So I haven't been doing much. We still haven't had. Oh wait, that's a caucus thing. Yeah. So we've been working on getting items for the agenda. So as you guys see today, we're going to be talking about an internal reforms discussion, and it might end up being a closed session. I don't think so currently. But yeah, the internal reforms is just going to be talking about some stuff that has happened over the year. In addition, I'm going to email Carolyn to schedule a meeting to talk about some event planning for this last month that we're around here, last month and a half. And I hope everybody had a good spring break day.
Awesome. Thanks, Brianna. Addie is not present. So we're going to, and of course, Peg's not. So we're going to move on to LHAC committee open input period. Do we have our guests?
Yeah, I could take care of it.
Okay,
so
thanks, Sam.
We have Rahul and Grace. So both of you, essentially how it works is that you just tell us what you wrote on the testimony form and any other feedback you have. About 2 to 3 minutes of talking about whatever you would like to talk about. If anybody from the Senate has anything to respond or add, then they'll talk for a little bit, and then we'll do the next person, and then we'll move on. And you're welcome to stay the whole meeting if you want. You can leave if you want. And yeah. So do either of you have a preference for going first? All right, I'm going to pick Rahul because you're closer to me on my screen.
Cool, thanks for this opportunity. I just had a couple of suggestions or concerns with regards to dining on campus. So the first one was just that personally, and also I've seen a lot of my friends, everyone has dining dollars left over at the end of the semester. Sometimes hundreds of them. And a lot of times we go to Chipotle or a Subway or a lot of these places that are really close by campus and where we can't use dining dollars. And there are really limited options for where we can, especially this year. So if there was some way to set up partnerships with these places, I feel it would be good for them too, because students from Hopkins do go there often. And I don't know why that hasn't been done already. So that was one thing, just using dining dollars at those places. Another thing, for the dining halls on campus, this is definitely an issue that's close to my heart because I have a lot of food allergies, and they just label whether things are vegan, vegetarian, some basic things like that. A lot of times they mislabel things. When they see the word vegetable in any food, sometimes they'll just say it's vegan when it's actually not vegan. And they don't actually list any of the ingredients. So I think a really simple thing that dining halls can do is just say whether the food contains any of the 8 major food allergens. That's something that's on like most ingredient lists like for anything you buy. And so I think that'd be like a simple addition to make to like the menu. Just say contains like milk, nuts, or whatever it contains. And that way, regardless of whether they mislabel like the vegan vegetarian thing, it's still safe for everyone. And people don't have issues with food allergies.
Okay, thank you, Rahul. I think our Student Services Committee will probably be taking note of that. And they will also be following up if need be.
I'm raising
we have
hand
our
real quick
second.
if that's okay. Sam, am
Go
I
ahead,
allowed
Brianna.
to do that? I just want to let you know, Rahul, that we actually had somebody come in and talk about the mislabeling and about nutritional value of not having the ingredients or anything. So I believe some of us in SGA have already met with dining to discuss this. So it is something we're working on. We didn't even, well, I personally didn't think about the allergen thing. So I've put that in the notes, and I personally will check into that as well. Someone is raising their hand. So I'm
Yep,
done
I
speaking.
see. Anthony, do you want to speak?
Yeah, so the Student Services Committee did meet with dining, and one of the previous kind of concerns that we had was the exact one that you mentioned, the vegan versus vegetarian thing. And that's something that we clarified with him, and that's something that I think will be improved in the future. They seem pretty receptive to that. But since we already have that relationship, we'll definitely try to tack on the allergen thing as well. So thanks for your feedback.
Well, thank you so much.
All right. Does our next guest want to speak? Grace?
Sure. So in regards to academics, one idea that I have to improve student life during COVID is mandating that all professors provide office hours. So these past 2 semesters, I have found that going to office hours has served not only as a great way to get help from my professors, but also a great way to connect with them because we're unable to see each other in person. Unfortunately, for some of my classes, the professors have either not provided any office hours at all, or they have said that we can contact them individually, which is a little bit intimidating. It's even worse when all of our lectures are pre-recorded sometimes. So I know it's like a bit of a hassle on the part of the professors, but I believe that mandating that all professors provide at least one day where they meet with students for like 1 to 2 hours would improve student-professor relationships. Thank you.
Thanks, Grace, for your input. Unless anyone in academic affairs would like to respond, bring in any insight. Not seeing any raised hands, but I'm sure that they'll be taking note of that. That will conclude our open input period. Let's move on to class council reports. I guess we'll just start with seniors to get this out of the way. Regarding us, we are moving forward with our free t-shirt giveaway. We've organized all the information, so that purchase request will be going in soon. We've been bringing in some engagement with our collaborations with LDL for our Adulting 101 events, and we are still in process of planning senior week as best we can. And we also, unfortunately, have our vacancy, so we sent out that application yesterday, and that will be closing on this upcoming Sunday. So hopefully we'll get someone in for that. And that's it for seniors. Juniors.
Hello. Nothing much to report. Masks are hopefully actually getting ordered, which we're very, very excited about. And also did some work on our paddle boat cruise, which we're hoping to have towards the end of the month.
All right, thanks, Nathan. Next up is Sophomores, President Singleton.
So I had a meeting with Calvin last week to talk about some of the changes with planning for garden party at the end of the semester. So we're kind of working through that right now. And I'll be sending out a when to meet in the sophomore chat so we can meet in the next few days to talk about that.
Thank you, Anthony. And last up is freshman, President Kong.
Yeah, we actually have our Life Design Lab collaboration today. It's actually a little bit after, an hour after GBM closes, so it'll be fun. It's about failure and how that's okay, because, you know, that's always nice to learn. We've also been kind of working on some long-term projects related to SDS and mental health. And yeah.
Thanks, Kobe. We're going to now move on to committee reports. First up is academic affairs. Senator Chanda and Senator Zhang.
So we met on Thursday with the vice deans, and we'll be working over the month to expand the grievance form that we made this semester, implementing Q2 next semester, and then working on some of the resolutions. So we've been working with them to mandate recordings and also include a diversity and inclusion statement. So we'll be doing that. And then we're also having a meeting soon with Dean Martin, I believe, to increase funding for pilots. So stay tuned for that.
Thanks, Veda. Next up is Civic Engagement. Senator Wang.
Just let me know if I cut out at any point. My internet's been a little funky today. But yeah, so Civic Engagement has been working on a number of projects. One of the most exciting one is about vaccine remote equity. And we plan on collaborating with HSS to get some professors and then some Baltimore city officials to do a speaker panel. Because I know that a lot of students have been worried about whether or not vaccines have been going out to the community, since it seems like a lot of the Hopkins population has already been vaccinated. And it's also really exciting that the rollout that there have been changes to the eligibility this week. And then we've also been, I know one of our senators, Ireland, has been working on a pronouns resolution. And so that should be getting presented in front of the committee either next week or the week after, and then into Senate after that. And those are pretty much our updates.
Thank you, Grace. Next up is Committee on Finance, Senator He.
Hello, everyone. So today we met and we passed the tabling funding bill and the HSS Sex Week bill that should be coming out today during GBM. Last week we reviewed some monthly grants, and tomorrow we're going to start doing annual allocations, and there's an exciting announcement that'll be coming out later this week, so look forward to that. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Next up is Health, Safety, and Sustainability, Senator Chen and Senator Tai.
Hi guys, so we held our Kahoot event last week, which was really fun and successful, and we're also working on preparing for Sex Week.
Great. Next up is Internal Affairs. Oof, that's me. So we did put out, I initially put out some feelers for interest for a meeting to discuss the current bylaws regarding co-chairs. We are going to just be inviting committee chairs and everyone in internal affairs to just go over some potential revamping / like removing and additions. So if anybody else has any interest on that, feel free to reach out to me. And that's it for me. Next up, we have Committee on Student Orgs, Senator Kalahasti.
Yeah, we had a really productive meeting last Thursday discussing how we can work with orgs to improve bias trainings for orgs that do have selective procedures, and making sure that we streamline rules and policies about conflicts of interest when reviewing applications if orgs are allowed to do so. So we're going to be putting out some surveys in the next week or so to get more information about how different criteria currently work for club admissions for orgs that are elected to be more selective, and sort of use those to formulate better guidelines going forward.
Thanks, Nanya. Last up, we have Student Services, President Singleton.
So we met Sunday and earlier today. We mostly just talked about ongoing projects, but we'll definitely take down that note about mentioning the allergies to the dining team.
Thanks, Anthony. Okay, now we'll be moving on to caucus reports. We'll start off with Black Caucus, Senator Anunanya.
Hey everyone, the Black and Latinx student experience sessions were today. So it was really just hosting a breakout room for that, about moving into Baltimore and finding your circle. But it was a very low attendance rate. So that was really it. And we were also able to be in a training session the week prior, just to hear about answers that we should give students and direct new Black students coming into Hopkins.
Thanks, Obi. We'll move on to the Hispanic Latinx Caucus, Executive Secretary Soldatelli.
Yeah, so I was at work today, so I wasn't able to attend that. We're also, I just messaged our group chat a couple days ago to try to schedule a meeting to talk about ways to reach out to more to more Latinx or Hispanic students on campus, because we didn't get very much interest. We can't really do anything until we get interest, because we're here for the students. If we don't have any students, it causes a problem. So if anyone has any ideas, let me know. And if you are in the caucus, let me know as well. Just check your messages.
Thanks, Brianna. And last up, we have the Women and Gender Minorities Caucus, Senator Regier.
She's not here.
Oh,
she's
okay.
not here. Would someone else like to give an update?
We don't have a whole lot to update right now. I am scheduling a meeting with Linda Boyd, our Title IX coordinator.
Awesome. All right, and last up for reports, we have our advisory report. Carolyn, do we have anything?
I do. Updates seem to go faster today than they usually do. So couple things. One, I got a request from a colleague who is looking for a student who knows how to ride a skateboard. So if you know how to ride a skateboard and would be willing to be recorded riding said skateboard, send me a direct message either in the chat here, or you can message me on Teams. I don't think it matters what kind of skateboard it is, Anthony, whichever one you've got. But specific, I was like, I don't know who rides skateboards. So if you're interested, let me know. The next thing is Leadership Awards is coming up. So 2 things about Leadership Awards. First, the date of the event, it'll be a virtual event, is Tuesday, April 27th at 7 p.m. So right before GBM. It's a really fantastic way to watch your friends be honored for the work that they've done over this last academic year. There are 4 major areas that are sponsoring awards through this process: Student Leadership and Involvement, Office of Multicultural Affairs, Dean of Student Life, and SGA. So you all host awards. There are several of them. I don't know if all of the awards receive nominations, but I do know that there are some awards that received several nominations, which means we need help making that selection. I don't want to leave it just to this folks on the committee, because SGA, I think, should be, have a representative selection process. So I need like 2 or 3 volunteers that can read through. There was like 10 to 12 nominations, and there's 2 to 3 questions in response to each nomination, less than 200 words per response. So it's not like a heavy load of reading. If you're interested in helping with doing that nomination, send me a direct message in the chat. I really need that help, and it needs to happen this week. Again, I want SGA represented as a part of this process. And then the last major thing is that Leadership Weekend went really well over this past weekend. I was pleased by the folks who were able to show up. I was a little sad that I didn't see more SGA folks there, but we are going to be ramping up in the fall semester for planning. So if you do think leadership development things are something you're interested in being part of the development side of things, or if you want to participate, just let me know. I really want to invest in SGA in your leadership development as we move forward. I'm excited for the new academic year and for seeing what has happened this year as your advisor. But just wanted you to know, because I was promoting Leadership Weekend to you. And I think that's it. I hope y'all had a good weekend.
Thank you, Carolyn. All right, so that wraps up all of our reports. We'll now be moving into new business. First up on that, we have the Smoothie funding bill with Sam Mullen. Hello. Oh, sorry. Can I get a motion? I suck at this. Any motions on the floor?
Motion to introduce the Smoothie bill.
Second.
Second it.
Okay. All in favor of introducing the smoothie bill, please go to the reactions tab and raise your hand. Okay, we've reached a majority. Sam, you have the floor.
Cool. Hey, everybody. Thank you for being willing to consider my bill. So this is a pretty simple one. To give you all some background, last month we did our first SGA tabling event of the academic year. As you all know, we are required to do a tabling event every month according to our bylaws. Well, we haven't been doing that to the letter because, given COVID concerns, we cannot make people go to in-person events because, there's valid public. We do it in a safe way, but we can't make people go to in-person events. But in the spirit of the legislation, we did decide to do one. And it went fairly well. We were able to give away items that we had left over from last year that totaled about $150 in giveaways. We had roughly 15 people. We did it at Levering Plaza. We got some quality feedback. And based off of that, we decided that we wanted to do it again. And, one discussion we had is that, one way to make sure that more people come and that we create a better experience for everybody is to, give better giveaways, essentially. So the first idea that was floated was giving away boba tea. But unfortunately, we found out that that is not on Foodify. And, given the complications around reimbursements, we decided that it would make more sense to go with something that could be used in Foodify. So what we decided to do is essentially get 50 smoothies, 10 of each of the flavors that Tropical Smoothie allows, or rather has available, to incentivize people to come to our tabling event, which we're going to do probably the last week of classes. And, encourage people to give feedback, encourage people to get to know us more, and, essentially just make sure that everybody has an enjoyable experience. So one thing that I want to draw all of your attention to this bill, other than, sort of numbers at 225, is that
China breached their own obligation.
Okay. So one thing I want to draw your attention to is I received a very helpful suggestion from Carolyn that even though, we're fairly sure that this does meet the prepackaged food, sort of conditions, like they're each separate smoothies, we wanted to have a clause in place to ensure that even if it turns out that those smoothies aren't quite in compliance, we could still spend the money on a similar item. So a friendly amendment that I wanted to raise, which I know is that essentially the money shall be reallocated to cold drinks if smoothies don't meet pre-packaged food requirements. So it's a friendly amendment. I would look favorably on someone motioning to, amend with the suggestion that I put on the bill, and then adding that in there just to cover all our bases. But, I'm fairly confident that the smoothies will work. And regardless of whether it's smoothies or whether it's cold drinks, I am confident that, serving this to students at a tabling event will be a great way to make people's lives a little bit better and get some more interest for our event. So yeah, happy to take any questions, concerns, feedback. Don't be too mean, kidding. So yeah, thank you.
Do I have any motions on the floor, for example, for like a Q&A or moderated caucus?
I have a point of information. Is there another agenda with this bill? Because on mine it just says pending. Like I don't have the actual.
Oh, look at the agenda that I sent in the yep. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I was about to do that.
Yeah, there's a bit of a mix up with editing privileges. Everything falls apart when the heck's not here. Kidding. That was a joke. But yeah, that's the correct one.
I'll motion to make a friendly amendment.
Second.
Okay.
Sam, you gotta reconfirm that this is friendly.
In fact,
the amendment that I intend to make is adding this money shall be reallocated to cold drinks if smoothies don't meet prepackaged food requirements as subpoint C under funding.
All right, that is friendly.
Wonderful.
Do I have any other motion on the floor?
Motion to vote.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All All right, all in favor of moving into voting procedures, please go to the reactions tab and raise your hand. Okay, we are at a majority. We are now in voting procedure. I'm going to lower everyone's hand just to make sure. All in favor of passing the smoothie bill, please raise your hand. And it looks like it passes. Oh yeah, and again, reminder, if anyone wants to abstain or says no, just DM me. So yeah, congrats, Sam. Okay, this bill passes. Bonk. Next up on our agenda, we have a discussion on internal reforms led by Executive Secretary Brianna Soldatelli. You have the floor to introduce this topic.
Alrighty, so I have my little script ready. Let me just scroll down so I see it. So this is a discussion on internal reforms. So looking back on this past year, we've really accomplished a lot, learning along the way, especially with the many challenges that we faced. This discussion today, the reason it's on the agenda is just to review how our work went and discuss possible internal reforms, such as removing co-chairs. Some other ideas for internal reforms were sent in the Slack, but my phone is about to die, so I can't pull them up right now. This isn't a conversation like, I'm going to bring up this idea and now everyone votes on it. It's more like everybody can talk about what they wanted to do. If someone wanted to motion for a round robin or something like that, just to get ideas or just to conversate about how we think SGA should change, things that went well. You can do whatever you want. Those are just some things I would think well. It's kind of just a brainstorm for like things we can fix in the future if you've noticed anything wrong. It's not like a fight thing. Don't go attacking people, please, and thank you. Be respectful in general. So I yield my time.
Do I have any motions on the floor for like a round robin or a moderated caucus? Anyone?
I'll motion for a round robin.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of moving into a round robin, please raise your hand. Okay, we have reached a majority. I honestly did not see who motioned for that first. Who was that?
Kobe.
Kobe. Okay, Kobe, you have the floor.
I think that it has been, I have not a lot to compare it to, but I think despite the challenges that we faced, I think overall there has been a good worker process, and when issues came up, we did deal with them, but I think it would be sometimes nice to have more standardized procedures in dealing with problems that arise, because I know that that was a little bit of an issue since, a lot of stuff happened this year.
Thanks, Kobe. I'm just gonna go down my list. I guess next up is me. I personally don't really have anything to add. At least like I've never dealt with co-chairs, but I mean, I'm sure many of us have heard of like problems or like potential like pain points with our system of co-chairs. So I'm just looking forward in general to our internal affairs meeting to like further dig into that. I yield my time. The next person I see is Sam.
Oh yeah, so I wasn't sure if I was going to be part of the round robin, but I could just talk a little bit more about kind of the purpose of this, which I mean, Brianna already said, but like every year, it's always good to evaluate, like what went well, what didn't go well. So this is pretty much it. It's like a brainstorm of looking at things and being like, I think maybe we should do this differently next year. So yeah, I pass.
Thanks, Sam. Next up is Brianna.
Yeah, so personally, I think we did pretty good with adapting to COVID, but I think we did have some issues. We're currently having some issues with attendance and just making sure, I don't know what, there's a word in my head, and delegation, issues with delegation where some people end up doing way more than like is their fair share of work, and other people might not be able to, or they might not like attacking anyone I've slacked off to. But just kind of making sure there's a system of accountability in place for each SGA member instead of SGA, well, not instead of, but in addition to SGA as a whole. I think that would be kind of a nice touch. And then being more strict with attendance, which is technically my job, but we kind of gave it a break because of COVID. But for example, I think we have 8 people missing tonight, and I only have like 4 or 5 excuses, which is not a good look.
Thanks, Brenna. Next up, we have Elise.
I have my time.
Okay, Ananya.
Yeah, I think most of the things that have been said so far are all really good, especially on attendance and excused absences. I know one thing that like for me has been really hard to manage or to sort of keep up with or handle on SGA this year, especially I think like with things being online, is just people pestering each other to do things or to show up to things or respond to things. I think it's just really hard oftentimes to keep up with. So I think if we like can set better norms for communication, staying in Slack channels or staying in Slack when they're work related instead of like going to text messages and then emails and like Facebook messages and sort of becoming really all encompassing, that would be really great, just so we keep things streamlined. And for people who need to take a day and check out of SGA related things, they can do that in a way that doesn't mean people will just resort to other means to bug them or ask them questions or to do things.
Kobe, I'll let you speak again if you want to.
This is something that you just very tangentially related, but for next year, maybe not starting using Slack, like the whole 30 days, everything disappears, is not fun to deal with. So I don't know if this counts as other forms, but if we could use a new system, that'd be nice.
Thanks, Kobe. Next up, we have Angela.
Kind of like on the same lines of what Ananya said, if we just had like more of like a systematic way of like reminding people to do things, because I think it's like easy to forget, especially when like we meet virtually and like things are online. It's like easy to forget like small little dates or like things that you're supposed to do. So maybe.
Thanks, Angela. Next up, we have Anish.
I yield my time.
Okay. Anthony.
Personally, I really like Slack, and like I didn't think of this until people brought it up. But like, since we have like extra money, would it not be possible for us to use some of that money towards our own operations and like paying for the whatever version of Slack that we can keep all of our messages?
Thank you, Anthony. Next up, we have Ben Scherzer.
My internal reform is that SGA should get paid.
Okay. Calvin, I see you. Would you like to speak? Calvin, you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Sorry. Just as a FYI, we do have Teams as an official university platform. We will not pay for a premium version of Slack. And that came up a couple of years ago.
Thank you, Calvin. Next up, we have Cece.
I don't really have too much to say. I think I'll say one thing about co-chairs. Personally, I loved it. I think maybe like integrating co-chairs is, I think integrating co-chairs maybe is something like that can be worked on if we do decide to keep the co-chair system, just to like establish those expectations from the get-go versus like letting people figure out what they do like on their own, like what's supposed to be done on their own. But other than that, I think I've enjoyed this year. Yeah, I yield my time.
Thanks, Cece. Next up, we have Harvey.
I'm gonna yield my time.
Thanks, Harvey. Next up, Ireland.
I'm also going to yield my time.
All right. Next up, we have Jenny.
I feel like this is probably mainly due to COVID, but I just don't really know how SJ usually functions. But I feel like there should be like more social events just between like senators or like SJ members, because I feel like we really only talk to each other when we have like a bill or it's like GBM. But like besides that, like we never really do anything to like get to know one another. Yeah. So I yield my time.
Thanks, Jenny. Next up, we have Karen.
I think SGA operations this year has been much better than it was in the previous years. My only point would be, I guess, to reiterate the attendance point. I think something we could do about that is if you're going to be absent to a meeting, we should have a form for people to submit their absences so it's all in one streamlined process rather than finding out, 10 minutes into the meeting, this person isn't going to be there. That's all. Thanks.
Thanks, Karen. Next, we have Mariano.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said, and I especially like the idea that Karen said about a form for absences.
Okay, noted. Next up, we have Megan.
I agree with everybody so far. I like the ideas about SJ members to hang out more, because since we do work a lot together, it is nice to have that kind of like background of like, hi, how are you? And also Ben's suggestion that SJ work should be paid.
Okay, thanks, Megan. Next up, we have Nathan. Sorry, y'all.
I would concur with kind of what people have said regarding attendance, specifically about having more uniform standards for what constitutes an excused absence. And then on kind of a broader point, a mechanism for holding each other accountable when we're kind of not practicing what we preach, or being a little hypocritical, especially like right now it's coming to light in regards to COVID guidelines. But I think generally speaking, we need to be sure that we're modeling the things that we ask of groups, both in terms of things like COVID guidelines, but in things like how we spend our finances, stuff like that. So just food for thought.
Thank you, Nathan. Next up, we have Obi.
Just kind of echoing what everyone has been saying, but I think we need like a more hybrid thing, because yes, the Slack messages can be a lot, but sometimes I do think it helps when like the chair or someone like texts you for something time sensitive, but maybe it should just be like a consent based, like all chairs should know like if the people they're like supervising like being texted outside of Slack. But I like it. I like being reminded. I wouldn't want to be the person that like a bill doesn't get passed because I didn't see a Slack message. And also, I think we need to figure out a way to like, when to meets are sent like at the beginning of the semester for people to like meet. I feel like sometimes people have to like tally on a bunch of excused absences because of just like a majority rules, and you're not able to like attend any of the meetings. So you would have to like either transfer out. There's just a lot, like when you fill out that initial when to meet and you're saying I can't meet at this time and it gets picked anyways, it's kind of weird to keep filling out the same excused absence every week. So we should do something about that. And then an echo on like stipends for the semester, that would be nice.
Thank you, Obi. Next up, we have Raj.
Yeah, so there's two things I'd say. One thing that I really like about SJ this year is that, so like I did SJ in high school, and I really like that, at least compared to my high school, student gov is taken a lot more seriously by administration. And it was just such a new concept to me, like writing resolutions and bills. So I really like that about SGA. One thing I do miss from my high school is that there was a much more personal connection between student gov and teachers and in this case, faculty and professors, and that you get to know them more. And I know that's not always feasible because like my high school only had like 13 teachers and my class was only 60 students. But I think it would be nice if for, at least for like academic affairs as an example, or some other committees, we could like start meeting with professors, because ultimately a lot of the things we do sometimes affect them. So it'd be nice to get to work with them as well. But yeah, that was it. Thank you.
Thanks, Raj. Next we have JJ.
Hello. This is my first year at SGA, so I'm not sure how it worked before, like before the pandemic and all. But I do think, too heavily relying on like virtual communication, like Slack, is a bit bad. Because Slack messes up notification for me, at least all the time. So I do think that, once we go back to some sort of in-person components of SGA, it's important to shift the focus back, maybe on like more heavily reliant on in-person meetings and more formal communication like email. I mean, Slack is still great, but also like we don't want to miss some important messages, so that an important bill or resolution gets not passed. So that's it from me.
Thanks, JJ. Next up we have Talia.
Yeah, I would just like emphasize like more social events, just like getting to know like people in our committees or class council, etc. That would be nice. Also what Karen said about the absence form, that'd be helpful, or maybe just like an attendance form, like at the beginning of the meeting to fill out, something like that might be better. And then I think overall, just like generally things have like operated very well. I like Slack for the most part. I think at times it's like hard to like get away from it and like turn off your phone and like stop engaging, but like learning how to do that has been helpful. And so far I've like, it's been really good for like communicating with everyone. And yeah, I think that's all.
Okay, and lastly we have Veda.
Yeah, I don't really have too much to add. Co-chairs this year too, and I'm open to having like a more open discussion about it, but I would like to keep it for next year. I feel like everyone really stepped up this year, despite all the problems that we faced with COVID. So I'm really proud of everyone, and looking forward to see what we can do next year. And I definitely agree with Ben's comment.
Okay, that concludes our round robin. Do I have any other motions pertaining to the internal reforms discussion? If not, then we will be moving on to prospective business. Just give you guys a few seconds. Okay. Well, I'm glad we had that productive discussion. We'll now be moving on to prospective business. Do we have any announcements regarding advancing legislation?
We're on pending business now on a new agenda for this next week.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm looking at the wrong agenda. Sam, do I have that link? Sorry.
I'm sending it again.
Sam, are you sure you're on the right agenda?
Yeah.
Then I might be on the wrong one.
Well, I just sent the link to the right agenda.
Okay. So as acting VP, I guess I'm going to be just adding this as pending business / going to add this to our current discussion. If everyone could please open that link that Sam just sent. Oh, never mind. I'm just an idiot. I've just been on the wrong one the whole time. Never mind. So yeah, now we are going to be moving on to our next order of business. My bad. This is that the title? Oh, our 6-week bill. And I'm going to give the floor to Megan to introduce this.
Can we explain how pending new business works first?
Yeah, so let me explain this to everybody. Point of information accepted. So if you go to our rules bill, if you go to section 4, special meeting rules, subsection A, automatic and pending presence on the agenda, If you look at, subsection A, that is to be listed on the agenda as automatic new business, where business is brought to the floor without deliberation whether to do so. That's sort of, that's our traditional new business. That's what we do the vast majority of the time. So that was, for example, that discussion we just had, and it was the smoothie funding bill. Another option, subsection B, which we're doing for this, is things listed on the agenda as pending new business. So we make something pending new business when it's sent to us very late, which, I mean, there's some confusion in terms of communication on this bill. So we were made aware that it was to be on the agenda for this week at very close to the start of GBM. So it is pending business. And what that means is that it requires a motion to be brought to the floor. Otherwise, it is skipped. So yeah, as I said, it needs to be, a motion to be brought off pending agenda, then motion to introduce, and then it's done as usual. And, obviously it's a motion. You don't have to vote to approve it. That's up to you all, but that is how it works.
Awesome. Okay, now I know what's going on. I'm stupid. Okay, thanks, Sam. So can I get a motion to move the pending business regarding the Sex Week funding bill to our current new business?
Motion.
Motion. Second.
All right, that motion is received. All in favor of moving the Sex Week bill to regular business, please raise your hand. And we have met a majority. So, okay. So now let's start talking about our next order of business, which is our Sex Week bill. Megan, you have 5 minutes to introduce it.
Hi guys, so this is the bill for Sex Week. It's in collaboration with SARU and SHU this year. In case you didn't know, SARU is the Sexual Assault Awareness Club on campus, and SHU is for health education. So this bill talks about, gives a quick background with the OIE report from 2018. And that's only because it's the most recent one that OIE has written and released. And then it also goes into some general facts about sexual assault across campuses, because it's the non-Hopkins information that we could find. And then the next couple of sections are about funding. So the first part is about prizes for Sex Week bingo. And these are just a variation of sex toys available from Sugar, which is a local sex shop in Hampton. And then the next two points are two speakers that Sarah would be interested in bringing to Hopkins. So the first one is Miss Domina Fontana, who is a BDSM speaker who comes to Hopkins pretty frequently. And what's exciting about this year is that she's going to be doing a 2-night event. So first night is going to be about general BDSM, and the second night is going to be going more in depth about how to safely practice it in your personal life. And then our second speaker is Miss Hannah Sawyer, who is a well-known poet who was a Sierra Leonean American poet. And she will be coming to give a bit of a performance of her poetry and work in general, and also talking about sexual assault awareness and body positivity. So yeah, that's everything about the Sex Week bill for 2021. I yield my time to the next motion.
Okay, do we have any motions on the floor? I'd encourage a Q&A or moderator caucus to just, go over these details.
Motion for a 3-minute Q&A, 45-second speaking time. That math doesn't add up.
It does add up.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
You're
Yes,
good.
exactly. Okay.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of moving into a 3-minute Q&A with 30 seconds or 45-second speaking time, please raise your hand. Everyone, please vote. Okay, we are at a majority. All right, Kobe, you have the floor.
Yeah, so I remember this event from last year. Can't believe it's already been a year. But something that was an issue is that we had a lot of people hop on to troll during those events. So I was wondering if you guys kind of had anything Do we have any new ways to prevent that from happening?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Do you use your time?
Oh yeah, yield my time.
Okay. Awesome.
Thanks,
So
Kobe. Megan, go ahead.
we actually had a pretty extensive conversation with Sarah about this because it was specifically during this like a couple of events. So give me one moment. I'll pull up our meeting notes real quick. So a couple solutions that we came up with were, the first one is like reporting to OIE. And what we noticed last year is that the people who were harassing the event were like the same people, and they're doing it like on purpose. So it wasn't like, hey, like, can you be respectful? Like they're like consciously disregarding that sense of respect in the Zoom. So first option is to report to OIE. We'll also be monitoring the chat and kicking people out and making sure that's permanent so they can rejoin and come back to like interrupt our event. And then other things that we're bringing up is a list of acceptable terms or expressions just to give people a bit of a guideline. And also on Campus Groups event, we're going to be, this is like an aside, but we're also going to be looking to try to make that RSVP list anonymous so that we can respect people's privacy.
Okay. Thanks, Brianna. I also have a question. I'm just going to recognize myself. I guess I'm a little bit confused. Oh, okay. You got rid of the one. Never mind. 1100. Oh, okay. Wait, these are Nathan's edits. I guess, would you be open to these friendly amendments? I guess they were just some typos with the number quantities.
Yeah, friendly amend. Just accept, accept.
Okay, and lastly, we have Brianna, who also had a question.
Yeah, I'm just kind of confused about the campus groups thing. Is it a situation where people will sign up using their JHEAD ID, and then if they're joining events, like I know there's ways that you have to sign in before you go into Zoom with your actual JHEAD ID, like with speaker panels or that kind of thing, because that way, in case someone is being rude, they can't do it anonymously, which I feel like will discourage it. And if they do still decide to be disrespectful, we at least have their name or their email or something like that. Because I was one of the people that was involved in that whole thing, which is not a fun experience. The Sex Week was great. I love Sex Week.
Yeah, so to elaborate about the anonymous, it's only for campus groups that we're looking into. For Zoom, we're still keeping like the names of everybody, and also like we want to like encourage people to talk, or so like we want to keep those names on for Zoom. The anonymity, the keeping your name anonymous for campus groups, that's more to like encourage people to like join the event, so that you don't get like harassed or like lightly teased by friends who are like, oh, like you're going to a BDSM event, like, oh, like what's going on there, you know? So there's more like fun and enjoyment to RSVPing and everything. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, this Q&A has expired. Do I have any other motions on the floor? For example, motion to extend.
Motion to extend by 2 minutes with 30-second speaking time.
Can I get a second? All right, all in favor of extending the Q&A, please raise your hand. Okay, we are at majority. China, you have the floor.
Yeah, so on Brianna's point, I thought I would just like ask like, you know, I guess ask a bit more about on the other side, because I know that like a lot of students might not feel comfortable if they have like their names attached. How do we ensure that students are able to, are encouraged to join without feeling, you know, that while you know, without exposing themselves too much to feel uncomfortable?
So you're talking about so during the Zoom event itself, we like to keep the names like as is so that we can like make sure that everybody's accountable. But in terms of helping everybody feel safe and like heard and like respected, like I mentioned before, we're gonna be like helping monitor the chat and like kicking people out if they aren't being respectful, and also setting some ground rules before each event starts. So that's in terms of like We're like terms and expressions that are accepted, and then also just general guidelines.
Thanks, Megan. Next up is Sam.
Yeah, I was just curious, how are y'all planning on advertising this and making sure people show up?
So we have a Canvas group event that will be circulating a lot for the link for people to RSVP. Then basically we're gonna be using our like Instagram and social medias per se, and then hopefully we can get into a couple of bless you, the larger like group chats, whether it's like GroupMe or Discord and everything like that. Oh,
Okay, and with that, the Q&A expires. Do you want to add something real quick, Megan? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the event is during the very last week of April, so we'll be doing that like social media rollout during the week before.
Okay, thanks, Megan. That Q&A extension has now expired. Do I have any motion on the floor?
Motion to vote?
Seconded.
Can I get it? Okay.
Second.
Yeah, please raise your hand to move into voting procedure. Okay, we are at a majority. We are now in voting procedure. All in favor of passing the 6 week funding bill, please raise your hand. And we are good. Okay, so congratulations. This bill passes. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. With that, I think that concludes our new business. We can move on to prospective business. Do we have any announcements regarding advancing legislation? Please raise your hand. Oh, Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, so just a couple things. One, I sent this in the Slack, but I'm going to replug it. Next week, I forget the exact dates, but just tell me if you're interested. We have a couple opportunities to speak with administrators about essentially like ways they're looking at improving sort of like the response that the university has to people who are having like behavioral or mental health crises. So, if you're interested in that, I got a few people that already told me they're interested, but honestly, I forgot who told me. So please tell me again. So I make sure that you have the links to go to the event. We should definitely get that squared away sooner rather than later. So I'm going to send that into Slack. And the second thing is just a general reminder to, keep on sticking to the COVID guidelines. As SGA senators, I can tell you, I've been informed that people pay attention to what we do. And that matters both in terms of running our own events later in the semester, which I know we're all very excited to do. And, that's also just in terms of, people looking and seeing like what SGA does and modeling their own behavior off of that. Even if you're vaccinated, you still have to follow COVID regulations. I know vaccinations are open now, which is very exciting. Hopefully everybody does get vaccinated. We haven't passed a resolution, but I think it's safe to say SGA is pro-vaccine. But still, remember, we're not done yet. And think about what you're posting on social media too, because people are paying attention to that. And yeah, I think that's it. Happy Blue Jay Tuesday. Got the 3 in.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, do we have any other things regarding advancing legislation? If not, we can move to just general announcements. I'm just going to say, if you're an internal affairs or a committee chair, please fill out the when to meet if you're interested. If you're a committee chair, if you're an internal affairs member, you have to fill out that when to meet. So please do that. It's due Wednesday night. Anyone else for announcements?
I have another one. Class president's reminder. We have a meeting right after this.
I literally forgot. Okay, great. Thanks. Last for announcements. All right. And lastly, we have our general public input period. I don't think we have anyone here. Okay. Can I get a motion to close the meeting?
Motion to end the meeting.
Second.
All right, all in favor of closing the motion or closing the meeting, please raise your hand. Okay, we're